Good July 25th. Today is the official launch day of this incredible book, Life is Crazy and We're All Going to Die, a book about hope in strange places by my friends Vicky Lanzone and Jamie Blaine. I'm Natasha Miller. I'm going to be hosting this next hour. I am the founder, CEO of Poignant Press, and I'm really proud and honored, which is an overused term, but I am, to have a part of this book coming to life and publishing it. I want to let you guys know what to expect today. So I'm going to be introducing Jamie and Vicky and letting you know a little bit more about what the book is about. Then we're going to hear from Jamie and Vicky reading excerpts from their book. Actually, that's not true. I'm going to interview them first, and then they're going to do a reading. And then we'll have a little fun throughout. So thank you for joining. I want to tell you a little bit about Jamie. This is his official blurb. Jamie Blaine is the author of Midnight Jesus and Mercy Never Sleeps, and his writing has been featured in publications around the world. He is a USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and New York Times bestselling author. He actually worked with me on my book, and we became pretty good friends as far as I'm concerned. We'll have to ask him how he feels about his friendship with me. Really fun, very smart, quirky dude. Vicky Lanzone is the program manager for Street Life Ministries in the Bay Area in California, and she sometimes dreams of a career as a stand-up comedian. I met Vicky about a year ago at the Street Life Ministries, and what she's doing with that organization is pretty commendable and really special. And I'm not sure she'd be doing it if she hadn't met Jamie. So this is what the book is about. Here's the blurb. A smart aleck agnostic from Silicon Valley reaches the end of her rope after discovering her husband has been cheating with an eBay addict he met on Craigslist. Desperate, she signs up for an online marriage support site. Enter Jamie Blaine, a scatterbrained former late-night suicide crisis responder from Tennessee. Blaine is about to take a job as a Kroger night stalker. That's not stalker, but stalker. When he's offered a chance to make some quick, easy cash serving as a love coach for a shady website for jilted spouses. The story unfolds. Vicky is not only dealing with a two-timing mate, but also has an abusive boss and parents who suggest that her relationships might improve if she'd slim down and buy lacy black underwear. Late one night, Vicky writes that the weight is too heavy and each day is a battle to survive. She admits there are pills, and the note is written. Jamie replies, instead of ending your life, why not try changing it first? What do you really have to lose? Life is Crazy and We're All Going to Die is the story of a woman who ditched her dead-end job, cut her cheating husband loose, and went looking for hope in the last place you'd expect, with losers, drunks, and schizophrenic vets, prostitutes turning alley tricks for a happy meal and a fix. It's also the story of burnt out Jamie Blaine trying to find a way to help without losing his mind and realizing that even though it's messy, even though people will let you down, if for nothing else but your own sanity, you get back up and you try again. This book is raw, real, funny, and ultimately redemptive. Life is Crazy and We're All Going to Die offers a view of humanity beyond social justice, past denominations, deeper than the platforms, political causes, or lines that divide us. I would like to ask both Jamie and Vicky, at what point after you met and you went through this experience together, did you start thinking about writing a book?
I'll go first on that one. I guess since I was already working in the writing business and working on a lot of different projects, working with magazines and some newspapers, and it was really after probably a year or two of our back and forth correspondence that I went, this is really good. There's something here. And even working in the business, you see so many, you just read so much, and you see so many new books and articles and different things. So even in the midst of all of that, there was something about Vicky's voice and her work that just really stood out as this is real and this is good. And if I'm enjoying this so much, I just think this needs to be out there. I think other people would enjoy it too, and it would help other people, and they could relate to it, because there was just so much that I would see that missed the mark, and it was just shallow and plastic and hollow, and my God, people need something real.
Yep.
I don't know. What do you think, Vicky?
I'm not sure that I ever thought it'd be a book until after I started our communication back and forth for so many years. But, I just started writing stories about people on the street just to sort of humanize them, for people to get to know them, right? And just so that when people would see a homeless person, instead of avoiding them, they'd just say hi. And that was my purpose. That was why I started writing these stories. And then, Jamie said, there's something here. You should share these. So
and I mean, can I add this? We say this at the beginning of the book. I'll say it again here. This is not a book to rally for the homeless or religion or evangelical or any sort of movement or anything. It's just human, and it's just about two people trying to figure it out. And you find hope in the strangest of places. We found hope in this really strange and unusual place. The way it all turned out, it wasn't anything that we purposely did. It just happened, happy accidents. And just even after all this time, to hear you read that synopsis out loud, I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, that's crazy. It is crazy. It's just nuts.
The whole thing is crazy.
It is.
What was your process in collaborating and selecting the excerpts from your emails?
Well, we had so much to choose from, and that is a wonderful problem to have in writing, is when you have so much good material that you have all of these different directions you can take it in. So you find a direction, you find a storyline, and you go with it. And at the time we'd started that, there wasn't an ending yet. We didn't know what the ending would be. We didn't know if there would be an ending or when things continue to go in this route. But we trusted the process. And because we had so much, and because I worked, not to beat up on the industry, but because I worked in an industry where you're used to taking a magazine article's worth of material and having to stretch it out into a book, and you're having to work from a deficit to work from an abundance. That was it was awesome. So there was so much good stuff we left out. I mean, this could have been a 1,000-page book.
Well, sure. I mean, and you could do a follow-up and a third follow-up. How were you working together as therapist, guide, and that kind of a thing while you were writing, or were you you had a break from that?
That didn't last long. Vicky,
we became friends. That's what happened.
I was not able to hold up the therapist thing very long, and I never am. And that was sort of what I'd written about in my earlier books. I got a free ride to grad school and fell into this loophole where I was able to go practice with a license and things. I didn't know what I was doing. I was an immature kid, and I still am. But I knew how to get down on people's level with them, because I started working at psychiatric hospitals and different things like that, shortly after high school.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I knew to do. And that was the only thing I knew to do with Vicky, was just to say, hey, I don't have any fancy psychiatric terms or, psychology or analysis. I don't have any of that. But, let's just talk it out. And there's some help in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some benefit. And the cool thing was what a surprise. We both ended up benefiting from it. We helped each other. That's absolutely true.
I wanted to let anyone know that's watching. First of all, our Facebook connection got broken. So we're live on LinkedIn only. And someone named Randy is on. And I just want to let anyone that is on watching live, you can type in a comment or a question, and I'll bring it up to the screen or ask Vicky or Jamie to respond. So the next thing I want to talk about is Jamie, you traveled for the first time ever to meet Vicky in person to California to work on the book. How long had it been since you first initially met Vicky online to the day you met her in person? Was that
10 years?
9 years, 10 years, yeah.
10 years,
Something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, throughout the whole writing of this book, now whatever comes in afterwards, who knows? But through the timeline of this book, we had never talked, we had never met. We didn't know what each other's voice sounded like. She had seen sort of the old picture I had on the website thing.
I'd
That
love
was
to
it.
see that.
Well, but there was, you know, sometimes there's beauty in the anonymity of it, in not knowing, you know, because it's kind of safe. And then there's that distance and there's that safe, and you feel like, yeah, you know, I can tell the stranger whatever. And, you know, initially, this was going to be her book, you know, for the longest time. I said, I think I just want to help you do this. This is going to be your book. And she was like, no, this is your story too. And
So
when I
Vicky,
realized that, that's really when it took off. Sorry.
I wasn't letting him off that easy.
Vicky, you invited him over to the West Coast and you chose, I think it was Carmel, to do some working sessions. Can you talk about why Carmel and also what your vision was for those sessions, and then also what really happened?
Carmel, because I own a timeshare there and I can get an extra room, and I figured it's a beautiful place, and I know Jamie likes to see the ocean, and where he lives he doesn't really get to see that. So it was just an opportunity to go stare at the ocean for a week. And so we worked on the book and met for the first time, which was kind of crazy. Hold on just one second.
All right, I'll tell this story.
Okay.
So we've never met. She's got this timeshare. She's like, come out here. You have your own room. It's on the ocean. It's everything. I mean, Carmel's beautiful, right? I've never been there. I just knew that Clint Eastwood was the mayor once upon a time. That was all I knew about Carmel. But even that, and if we do get to write a follow-up, you know, I fly into this little airport in Monterey at like midnight in fog, that, you know, the kind of fog you just don't see in Tennessee. And this airport is completely Stephen King abandoned. And I make my way all the way through it till I get to the last door, and Vicky and Kevin are there waiting for me. And so that was a really cool way to meet. It was appropriate.
And was Kevin there during the writing process?
Yeah.
So for those listening, Kevin is a main character in the book at a certain point, not at the very beginning. Interesting. So what did you actually get done during that time?
It was already done. We just basically said, okay, we've got all of this raw material. You know, we've got this warehouse full of material. Let's plot it out, and let's try to figure out where we're going to start and where we're going to end, and how these paths are going to intertwine, all that sort of book stuff. But we just sort of hung out and talked a lot too. And Kevin's an important part of the book too. Kevin is the 6'5" biker that, get the book. It's really cool. And now he could have his own book too. Gosh, he has had some adventures.
Yeah, good. He's actually a very good writer.
He is.
Yeah.
He's great.
Okay.
And
So
we also, in Carmel, coming from Nashville, I saw the worst cover band I've ever seen in my life in a Mexican
Oh
restaurant.
my goodness, yeah, that was funny.
Absolutely packed wall to wall, cannot get a seat, like 400 people, and just the most awful band I'd ever seen in my life.
Yep. I will.
We never forgot that though.
let's talk about the title. Where did it come from? I have my own story to tell about this, but tell me about it. Whose idea was this? And I can guess.
I think it was most of our idea. You know, we had a different title. It was Angels and Strangers Unaware. And then we were just sort of kicking around this life is crazy. And we thought, do we go that bold? Do we just go for it and do it? And we decided, yep, that's what we're going to do. We thought about it quite a while.
I don't. Yeah, we had this book had a completely different title, really, right up until the book was done. And we were talking about doing the cover, and the girl that did the cover for my second book, I wanted her to work on this one because she's so talented, Kristen. And so I told her this. It was the original title was Angels and Strangers Unaware. But when I got to her, I said, I don't know. I said, maybe we just ought to call it Life is Crazy and We're All Gonna Die. And I mean, I give credit to Kristen. She was like, oh my God, you have to call it that. She goes, that's the best. I said, well, it's the most nonfiction title you could possibly have, because nobody can deny that that is absolutely 100% the truth. This is not a novel. This is true.
Yeah.
And that lesson came up on every page. You know what you got figured out? Nothing. You're not going to figure out anything about life. It
Yeah.
bewilders us all. And, you know, we're all going to meet the end one day. So we should live with that in mind, with what's in front of us right now. But that's hard to do. So it was epiphany. I don't know. It just was kind of a lightning bolt, the title. But
when you
God, we
guys
found it.
presented that to me, I thought that you were pulling a typical Jamie Blaine joke on me. And I was like, you're kidding, right? Like, really? And then the marketer in me, and it just cuts through all the noise. It absolutely just demolishes everything. So I'm going to show my version. You guys can all hold up your versions if you have it with you. So you guys have the real version, and I have the galley copy. My real version's coming.
Mine's the galley too.
So let's talk about the cover design. Vicky, Jamie, what the heck were you thinking? And, why do you love it? Why did you choose this one? I mean, it's amazing, but I want to know from you what you were looking to do.
Well, I worked with Kristen. Kristen's here in Nashville, and she designs book covers for a living. She's from LA. And she worked in the sort of in the rock and punk metal and all of this, which I did too. I've worked with Metal Hammer and Classic Rock magazine, and so I knew she would bring that sort of, in your face sort of attitude. And we actually went through a lot of different things. We did sort of a graffiti thing and different things where we wanted this, if I can use a writer word, that kind of juxtaposition, but that kind of blend of, it's got some beauty to it, but it's also got this insanity to it. So it would kind of reflect the title and reflect that's the reality of life. Sometimes life is beautiful and sometimes it's horrible and weird and crazy. So this is what she came up with, and we love it. And even though Amazon, originally it was bigger and it bled off of the page, and Amazon said, no, you can't do that. So we pulled it back some. But, just hit people in the face with it.
We went through about 4 or 5 versions, and then this is the one that just stood out to us. That best reflected the book to us.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, how is this book experience, both writing and publishing it, different than your two, the 2 books I've read of yours, Midnight Jesus and Mercy Never Sleeps?
Mm-hmm. Books are like your kids. Each one of them has a special place in your heart. But this one was just so much fun to work on. And this one, just a lot of the frustration, because working on a book is, I think I said it's like a monkey trying to carve a bowling ball out of a mountain with a butter knife. It's a lot of work. But this one was just fun and pleasurable in a way that the other ones just weren't. Not that you don't love them all. Other than the one I worked on with this young lady from Oakland a few years ago, this one was just it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It was. But it was real. It's like if you had the cover, if you had this title, but what was inside didn't live up to it. But this doesn't do that. The inside lives up to the title, and we're really proud of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the people I work with in the industry, they're like, I can't believe you called your book that. And then they're like, well, yeah, actually, if anybody could call their book that and get away with it, it would be you.
It's a show-stopping title. but inside it's a show-stopping reality that is just so beautifully crafted. Vicky, we have a question for you from Randy. He wants to know, did you feel like a character, like you were almost writing about someone else?
Hi, Randy. I know Randy. Um, no, because it was my life, and it was, it didn't feel like a character to me. And it was just, it was basically me telling Jamie, this is what happened to me today. This is my life today. This is where I'm trying to figure out where to go. Nothing's fitting together correctly. Everything's a mess, and so I just would spill it out. But no, it was all me. I did those things, went to Victoria's Secret looking for lacy underwear and all those crazy stories.
So sorry for you.
I really was thinking about going to get a job at Kroger. We were both at just dead end. And the thing, wave if I talk too much, but because I ramble sometimes. But the thing that makes a good book, and not to do a lot of sausage factory industry stuff, but a book should be one person talking to one other person. It should be one-on-one, and that should be the voice that it's written in. And I understand there are certain books that are kind of like more TED Talk, more to be from a platform or to speak to a group of people. But when you're talking memoir type stuff and that voice, you're not talking to a crowd. You're talking to one person, just like a friend. And I think the reason we had such an abundance of material to work out is for all of those years, we were just talking one-to-one. We weren't trying to write, we weren't trying to craft or anything. We were just like talking one person to one person.
Mm-hmm. What do you want the readers to feel and take away from the book? And let's start with Vicky, because she isn't as talkative as you are.
I just, I want everybody to feel like it's okay. Like it's okay to feel like you don't fit in. Like it's okay to feel like the oddball and try to find your place in the world, because a lot of people out there are feel that way and are trying to find their place in the world and don't ever, and that's okay too, So we have a lot of shared experiences, and I think in those shared experiences we find our common bond, right, and our humanity. So that's really what I feel like. It's okay to be that that oddball, that misfit.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, what about you?
It's the same thing. It's okay to not have it figured out, because there are so many messages and voices out there. If you just read this book, you're going to figure your life out, figure your purpose out, and your calling out, and we kind of just go from one desperate fix to the other through life, and none of it really works. And so just have one message out there that goes, nobody's got it figured out. It's okay. You don't have to get it figured out. Just get through the day, and sometimes that's enough. You can have dreams and you can have goals, and there's a balance of that, but you're not going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. None of us do.
The last question I want to talk to you about, which could take another hour or a day or a week, is, the spiritual / potentially religious / megachurch content in the book. I'm just teeing it up for you just to speak to that. This book isn't a book about religion. It's not a book about mega churches, but it does kind of show up, especially on your side.
Yeah. Well, it's true to my experience, and it's just one of the big struggles in life. And you have to write one of mine, and you have to write from your experience. That's what's going to hit with other people. So hopefully, I do it in a way that's not pushy, or I'm never trying to sell anybody anything or trying to convince anybody of anything. And I think if it comes from an honest place, people will take it, and people will read it, because it's a true part of your life. And so I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. But man, I was raised small town Bible Belt, and that's just all of us kids wrestle with. And it was, to me, that was, that was another part of the true message. I mean, that's right in the Bible where it says in an old book of the Old Testament called Ecclesiastes, it pretty much says life is crazy. You're not going to figure it out. We're all going to die. The best thing you can do is live with the moment that's right in front of you. Treat other people decent and just do the best you can and not be so hard on yourself. And so I just feel like, man, there's a lot of people that need to hear that message, and I need to hear that message.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a faith-based book. It's certainly not an evangelical book or anything. It's just a book about things that we struggle with down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just try to come from that place. And, I guess the testimony to that is a lot of people who read it who are not from that world and who are not those kind of believers. And they seem to receive it better than, I guess,
yeah,
the church crowd people do.
Yep. Gotcha. I hope that you guys are ready to do a little reading. What would you like to start with?
Vicky's going to start.
Okay.
I'm going to start. Do you want me to do 11, Jamie?
Yeah. We're going to do a little back and forth, just the letters.
Hot off the press. We're reading from Life is Crazy and We're All Going to Die.
Okay, so I'm going to read a few stories of, these are two just very short street stories and sort of what was happening up in my life every day, what I was doing. And Jamie and I, throughout the book, sort of have a back and forth that you'll see when you read the book. So this story's called 11. When Kevin was homeless, he lived in a camp called the Corridor. And there were some smaller guys there. The streets can be hard for the weak. Kev took care of those guys, make sure no one touched them. There's this one guy called 11 because 5150 adds up to 11. 5150 is the police code for crazy person on the loose. 11's a tiny little fellow, mentally challenged. He lived with his mom until she got a new boyfriend and kicked him out. 11 shouldn't be on the street. He should be in a halfway house or something. It was cold tonight, and 11 showed up shivering and lost. We went to my car and found him some clothes, gave him a blanket and a sleeping bag. Since Kevin's been gone from the Corridor, 11 hasn't been faring too well. That rips Kevin up. 13 White Shoes. That happened a few days after I wrote this. Robert is this good-looking guy in his 20s that comes to street life. He's very polite and sweet. Kevin told me that Robert's shoes are worn out and his feet are getting... What size shoes does he need, I asked. 13 wide, Kev said. 13 wide, that's a tough size to find. I knew there were none in the clothing bin, so I told Kevin, let's go find some. We lucked out at Kmart. I bought 2 pair, figuring if one gets wet, he can wear the other while they dry. I thought $35 for both pairs was a good price. Robert didn't come to street life tonight, so Kevin knows where he stayed, and we drove over after street life. There are around 12 guys there that live under the overhang. They all looked at me weird, and I was a little nervous. I always feel like an outsider, but I just smiled and waved, hi, guys. I'm not sure they appreciated me knowing where they sleep, but everyone was cool. I gave the shoes to Kev and told him, now you get to go be Santa, and that works better. Robert thought he was in trouble when Kevin asked to speak to him. Then he saw those shoes and his face lit up. It meant a lot to him that someone thought enough to buy him a pair of shoes. The rain is coming. It'll be bitter cold soon. I'd work overtime to buy shoes and coats for these guys, and Kevin can give them out. I like it better that way. We're a good team.
And this was my response to her. Vicky, I'm no theologian, but if I were living on the streets and it was cold and wet and my hard to find 13 wide shoes worn out, I would sure want someone to give me some new ones. 2 new pair? That's when God elbows angels and says, hey, check out what Vicky's doing. Or at least that's how I hope it works. You try to make some small difference somewhere best that you can. Sometimes it's a coat or a taco or hot coffee on a bitter cold day. Sometimes it's 13 wide shoes. Don't worry too much about the church folks. I learned a secret along the way from working at mega churches and crisis psych and all the backstage access that Nashville provides. Those super Christians are just as messed up as the rest of us. I don't have a hard time with compassion for the homeless and the mentally ill, but can I have grace for the people who are just so sure? Doesn't it say somewhere, blessed are those who know that they're screwed? Jamie, and that's one exchange.
Did you guys want to read anything else, or is that what you prepared?
Well, and throughout the book is not just entirely, back and forth, email response. There's also a lot of our backgrounds, and so there's parts that's written like sort of call and response to each other, and then there are other parts where we're talking directly to the reader and telling them a little bit more about ourselves. So I've got a part like that, and I think Vicky does too. So
Great, let's hear them.
when I was a kid, I used to sneak down to the laundromat at my dad's apartment to play an old Black Knight pinball machine jammed behind the last dryer. This uptight bank teller lady lived across the way. She wore a business suit. She would snipe at us kids for making noise or riding our bikes down her sidewalk. That's the only time I ever saw her around. It was late and a summer storm was brewing. And Bank Lady's apartment sat on the other side of the pool. The complex was dark except for her light. Her window was cracked and the classic rock radio station was bleeding through the screen. Suddenly, she appeared in the kitchen, hair down, no glasses. She was wearing an Astros jersey with the sleeves cut off. And the DJ on her radio said it was 27 minutes after 11 o'clock and that the rain would last all night. And then he played Magic Man by heart. And the banker lady began to dance. That's when I first realized that we're all two people. There's this hazmat suit persona that we put on to deal with jobs and all the stuff that threatens to suck the life out of our bones. And then there was that person we are when we don't think anybody's looking. Late at night with heat lightning in the clouds and the Wilson sisters singing about running free. You see, I thought I knew the uptight banker lady. Turns out I didn't know her at all. Just then a thunderbolt struck and the lights went out. And in the darkness, she could see out her window into the laundromat where I was. And she stared for a moment and then she slammed her window shut. And I walked back home that night, wondering what the banker lady was like when she was 10 years old. If she dreamed of working at a bank window all day, if she had bigger dreams, what happened? Could the same thing happen to me? None of my dreams were practical. I dreamed that I'd grow up and be a pinball guitar wizard with the kind of girlfriend who could look studious during the day and still dance in the kitchen at night. Or maybe I was just dreaming I'd never have to grow up. You can spend 7 years in college and not learn as much as you do in one grand moment of epiphany. Sometimes that one moment, oh my gosh, thank you for letting us do this book. Thank you for letting me tell the story of that night. That was good stuff.
Today was the first day I did not wear my wedding ring. I need to start on the divorce paperwork and really don't feel like it. I was getting some files from the closet. I was looking at this expensive china and thinking, what a waste. That china seemed so important at the time. When I look back at my life, I don't want to say I designed and sold a lot of lighting fixtures and I have great china. I mean, who cares? I'd rather live in a tent rather than stay in the rat race. I'm ready for change. I can't just sit around with nothing to do. I'll drive myself crazy.
Something that I want to reflect back to you that I think you already know, or maybe you don't, but it sounds like, you found Jamie at a time you really needed him.
I did. Yeah.
But he really needed you too.
Yeah, we found each other. Yeah.
And
that's what people should do. You find each other.
Molded and sculpted a new version of yourselves in that union that you had. How long did you work together in that way? As sort of patient, I mean, I don't even know that's what you would call.
Well, yeah, it was before BetterHelp and all of those kind of online, e-therapist things. So this was really sort of a groundbreaker for that. This was a guy, and he was a good guy, and he was trying to do this and set up this model, but it was all pretty new. So you know, they defined me as a love coach, so which is kind of nutty in itself.
Pretty
So, but
funny.
yeah, yeah, that's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Okay, how long were you the love coach?
Oh gosh, a week. I tried to do that. I think I pulled it off 2 or 3 posts at least.
Okay,
You know,
let me
and then
ask
we
Vicky.
started, and then we started.
Vicky, Jamie doesn't want to answer this question, or he refuses. This is part of our relationship. So Vicky, how long did you two work together?
You know,
In the you know, even if it turned into a friendship that
it
you
was a
ended up,
friend. You know, bottom line is that, you know,
not
Jamie,
how long were you paying the site, but how long did you work?
years, like 5 years, something
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I want to say, I mean, but, you know, Jamie was that hand up for me. Jamie gave me a hand up when I needed one in the worst way. And he got in the mud with me and he helped me figure that out. And from him doing that, I learned how to do that for other people too. I figure we all need a hand up. We all do. And he was that person for me when I needed it.
And did you know at the time, could you see throughout, you know, through your own lens, because you were going through some really bad stuff, could you
Oh, yeah.
tell that you also were lending him a hand up as well in a different way?
I didn't know that.
When did that occur to you?
I still don't believe it.
That took a while. And, you know, maybe I'm qualifying this too much. You know, if you read the book, you'll see how conflicted I am about the whole love coach thing. But I think, though, and I'm not even sure I remember this right at this point, but the whole website thing, it just sort of crashed, but they forgot to turn the lights off and the structure stayed up. And, you know, we were the only two exchanging in there for the longest. And then, when, you know, so we're just kind of hanging out talking.
You were squatters? You were squatters within this platform? Awesome.
Yeah, so I don't want you to think I was, you know, like charging therapist rates and billing on insurance or anything like that. It wasn't anything. It was as official as it sounds like when somebody was going, I don't know, should I go work at the cereal aisle in Kroger or be a love coach online?
Yeah, we should say that Kroger is a national or regional food chain. Some people may not know what that is. I don't even know why I know it.
Well, where you're at, it's it's a person's name.
It's probably like Safeway here.
No. It's I went to the one on Sunset Boulevard. Anyway, yeah, they're nationwide, but yeah,
Okay, when you figure it out, let me know. We have another question coming in from Nicholas. Is there anything in the book you were afraid to tell?
Yeah, most of it.
Say more.
Exactly right.
all of it.
All of it, right? Kind of a, boy, what have I done now feeling. But, you know, I think if somebody gets something out of it, then it's worth putting it out there. And I tend to be a pretty private person and hold my cards fairly close. So it's strange that I'm putting out a book that has most of my inner thoughts in it, you know, and sharing my story and all of its messiness. But I do hope so many people get something out of it. And that's the whole point of doing it.
Okay, question asked, question answered.
All
Is there
of it.
any,
It's all in a yard in your underwear.
or less?
Or less. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you guys want to share about the book that I didn't ask you or that you didn't cover in the readings that you did?
Well, when you say that, I think that theory of kind of like people were supposed to help each other out, because in a lot of ways, Natasha, that was kind of the same thing that you and I did too. So you and I got into this relationship, and it's kind of, you know, a professional thing at first, and like, okay, but you can't get in there and say, I'm going to help you tell your story. You know, let's tell this story together, because that's not just book writing class or anything like that. That's life, you know, and that's what Vicky did. She went out there. She said, well, I don't have anything else to lose. And so she went out and started handing stuff out to people on the street out of her trunk. clothes and food and stuff. Like, you know, nothing to lose. So that principle to me is sort of we're showing it, not telling it. We're not saying, oh, you need to connect with people and you need to help people. That's just how it works. And so I have the privilege of being able to say that I've done that with both of you. Both of you, invested things and helped me with stuff in life, just because that's what we do when we partner together in something like this.
Yeah.
When it works out well. I mean,
Right.
thank God for it.
Yeah. We have another question coming in. Nicholas is asking, is there anything that changed between writing the book, I guess at the beginning, and finishing it, your perspective on things, and what would it be?
Everything changed.
What do they say? Comedy is always tragedy plus time. And yeah, so now I can look back on it and say, wow, what a crazy story. And I'm sure glad I'm not in that space anymore. It was, the old me, right?
Did you have any propensity before the issue with your ex-husband to help people in need and with the homeless? Was that in your purview at all?
I thought about it. I've always had sort of a heart for homeless people, always thought about it, but I never did anything. No.
Yeah.
Well, her family and her ex and everybody told her that was crazy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
well,
Vicky, I should have said that maybe, but yeah.
why would you work for free? Why would you?
Why would you help them?
No. Yeah.
And again, this is not a rally to go out and help the homeless or anything like that, or advocate for the cause or anything. It's just a story.
Well, I'd like
to
to
get you to sign up for a program or it's just a story.
Right.
But people should find what speaks to them. Where they can help each other. It's not to go out and help somebody, because believe me, I've received a lot more than I've ever given, and doing what I did saved me.
Yeah.
But find something that speaks to you. That appeals to you, like where you can help. Just spread a little kindness right now.
For those that are watching, if you haven't got the book yet, it is available as of today on an ebook reader pretty much anywhere. So if you don't read Kindle and you don't want to have that subscription, you can get it on however you get your digital books, and then you can order it from Amazon. It is in paperback. Let's show all the books again. Yeah, it's this big. Everyone, I think, having the book and holding it is a really nice way. But, to support both Vicky and Jamie in this endeavor, if you love the book, here's the thing I would like to ask you to do on behalf of Jamie and Vicky. If you love the book, it would be so amazing if you shared it with other people as a book suggestion, person to person, or on a Facebook group, or however it is that you live your life. And here's the thing. It's really hard to get people to write a review on Amazon for books, but it helps people that might be considering it make the decision to buy it. So if you would write a review, an honest review of what you thought of the book and how it might have helped you or made you laugh or cry in places, that would be really great. There's also a website, lifeiscrazybook.com. And Vicky and Jamie are both on various podcast interviews and hopefully media interviews coming up, and they will link to those things for you to look at. They also have a Facebook and Instagram and I think Pinterest account, and some really cool little graphics that are coming up with some of the juiciest excerpts of the book. That being said, I would love to do this. We connected to Facebook late in the broadcast. There was something going on Facebook and it wouldn't load. So if you would like to put your name in for a copy of the book, signed copy of the book, send me an email. It's natasha@natashamiller.com. And we will choose 6 of you, lucky winners, to send the book to. Now, I'm not actually sure how we're going to get Vicky to sign it, then Jamie to sign it, and then send it, but we'll figure that out.
I thought the winners were going to get it signed by you.
Oh, yeah, sure. I will.
That's signed
Let's
by
just throw
Natasha
one
Miller.
more spoke. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the circus and the clown and the prizes. Before we go, Vicky and Jamie, do you have any last life is short, life is crazy things that you want to impart?
Go first, Vicky.
Oh, go ahead, Jamie.
It's just fun and it's honor and it's, at the end of the day, we want to help people, because when you help people and when you get in the reality of the stories and you see how crazy it is, then that helps you not take it so seriously. And if we could just quit taking things so seriously and quit taking ourselves so seriously and our opinions so seriously, the biggest thing I've learned through all of these crazy things I've done and jobs and, publishing and music, and it's what people are corporately and who they are individually are two different things. And when you start telling stories and you start listening to people's stories, I don't know how much time we have left, but I'll say this quickly because it's such an honor and it's such an important part of this for me. But Natasha and I were placed together. Natasha was a business person. She was a CEO. She had Harvard and all these things. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm out of my element here. I'm out of my league. But then she told me this story about being in high school and riding around by the ball fields with the windows down and listening to the Violet films. And we were just two people telling stories then.
Yeah.
And that's what works. The magic and wonderful things that have happened here. Just the fact that we're all here doing this together.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Thank you, Jamie.
Cool. Thank you.
Vicky, any last words from you?
I think through our stories, we find out more what we have in common and how we differ. And once people get real, it makes a difference. So I really, truly believe everybody has a story that needs to be told.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Hang on a little bit. We're going to end the broadcast. For those of you watching, thank you so much. Go to lifeiscrazybook.com or just straight to Amazon. Do a search for that book title and buy the book. Buy it for your friends, especially people going through a hard time. I think learning from other people's hardships and how they found a way up and out is really important. So again, thank you so much. Thanks to Jamie and Vicky.
And on that note, it's mostly comedy. Unless you think it's going to be too serious, there's a lot. We're both wannabe comedians.
We'll get you on the stage on the circuit soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.